welcome to Cherry Pie Math. This video is going to go over how we can interpret data and what are some of the basics that you need to know. We're not going to get super into like a bunch of analysis and a lot of different formulas, but we are going to be talking about measures of center and measures of spread. So before we get started, you do need to know measures of center like mean, median, and mode, and you need to know the interquartile range and the range itself. It's just measures of spread. So let's say someone says that people these days weigh more than they did 100 years ago. How would you ask them to prove it? Like, what would you say? What would you need to know to be convinced of that people now weigh more than they did before? So think about that for a second. Okay, and then just kind of keep that question at the back of your brain. What data would you need to know to be convinced while we go through this video? So first I want to go over box and whisker plots. I did talk about this in a previous video. But I have this thing here about shoe sizes for basketball players. I found this on the internet. And it compares two different teams and their shoe sizes. What we can see from this is that they both have kind of the same median. They both have the same median there, but the Spurs have a significantly larger spread. Both their interquartile range and their like overall range is much bigger than the Rockets, which is a little bit more close together. So box and whisker plots are super helpful because they help us see the center and the spread. So they help us see where is the middle of all of this information and then what is the spread of all of this information, because both of them are incredibly important. The measures of center are important because they help us see where most people fall. Where most people or data, I guess, because it doesn't have to be people that we're talking about. So it kind of gives us a middle ground, because we want to talk about in general most of the time, because like let's go back to the weighing more now than they did before. I could probably compare someone who's super skinny now to someone who was super fat 100 years ago, but I shouldn't say fat. I don't know what people say anymore. Overweight. But that's not a fair comparison because they're on opposite ends of where that data would be, right? So we really want to be comparing the measures of center. We also want to be talking about the spread. The spread is important because it shows how much variation to expect. Because, like, let's go back to the other one. So we see here they have the same median, right? Like that measure of center in this case is the same, but the spread is different. That means that the Spurs have more variation, more variety in their shoe sizes than the Rockets do. So the spread is also important to know about data because it helps us see, like, is everyone really close together? Like, is everybody about the same, or is it all a little bit different? So let's take a look at these two classes. They both did the same test. So just pause the video and take a look at these two classes. And that should say class 2. That's my bad. But yeah, take a look and see what you think. Okay, so hopefully you paused it. Hopefully you looked at it. So let's take a look at the mean. That's that line that I drew there. The mean tells us that they actually performed about the same. Performed about the same because their mean is about in the same spot. Like you can see, like here it's in the B, here it's around that. It's a little bit less in class 2, but it's about the same. Like if we were just talking about that measure of center, we could say both classes in the middle had about the same mean, had the same score. But the spread tells us a different story. So if we look at class 1, and I'm actually going to draw this little curve on the top here. In class 1, all the data is really centered more around the B, whereas in class 2, we would call this unimodal, because everything is kind of about the same. So that tells us class 1 had more students around the center. But in class 2, there was like an equal chance for all of the students. All of the students performed differently. All of them kind of, there's like an equal amount of D's and C's and B's and A's. Which one performed better? I'll leave that one up to you guys. Look at these graphs. Think about which one you think did better. If we were just talking about measures of center, they performed about the same. What does the spread tell you? How does that affect your opinion of which class did better? So some things to remember from this analysis of data. To make a summarized picture, you need both center and spread, because just knowing the center doesn't tell you anything, and just knowing the spread doesn't tell you anything. You need to know both so that you can see where is the data, where's the middle, and where is the rest of it. And if someone makes a claim, make sure they have the data to back it up. You might be on the internet one day and you'll be like, oh, 60% of people really like this video. Who's the 60%? How did they ask? What is the spread? What is the measure of center here? So just make sure that they have the data, and now you have a better idea of what kind of data to ask for. Anyway, I hope that helps. Good luck.